Everybody ready to go here? Game week? Yeah, no doubt. Okay, it's good to be back. Obviously excited about being back at Ben Hill Griffin and Steve Spurrier Field and the Swamp. 13 straight sellouts. We're certainly thankful for the support and excited about the atmosphere that will come with a home opener. I know our players and staff are really excited about the opportunity to compete. I think in the game of football, you spend a ton of time preparing, and then these things are precious, and we certainly look forward to it. So, I think it's important for our team to buy into the concept of preparation and how that can separate us from the opponent. And the whole idea of practice, what the game requires, not only from the players but from the staff. And when you get to in season, it's important that we understand the great teams, the championship teams, continue to improve each week because of the practice environment and the approach to the routine and how we prepare. Not everybody likes their role. It's important that they embrace their role and they work to earn more game day habits that will hold up in the most critical moments. And I do think that, we have a lot of people and everyone is contributing to the team, and it's important that they understand that. So, Long Island comes into town with a veteran head coach. Ron Cooper is established, well-respected in the profession. He's been around the block, and he has a team who finished strong and has some momentum. They've got, I think when you turn the tape on, there's really good intangibles. They play hard. They play with effort, toughness. There's discipline. And they have a really well-thought-out plan on offense, defense, and special teams. So, in general, it's time to go. And, it's important our veterans lead the way. Let's see how good this group can be. What questions do we have?
DJ's status, how did he look all of last week? And is he good to go, cleared to do everything?
Yeah, DJ has been 100% participant in practice here for several days.
How's he look and feel?
Yeah, I think he gets better every day. I think he's having a lot of fun playing football and competing. I think he's smiling a lot more often now. So I think he truly enjoys practice and preparing, just the opportunity to get better. I think the kid is consumed with improvement, and he knows the value of practice. So him getting to do that, I think he's a happy guy.
The starting quarterback for the first quarter, is that to be determined? Or
say that one more time?
is he the starting quarterback for the first quarter?
Yeah,
is that
DJ's
to be determined?
the starting quarterback.
You haven't had one of these to kick off the season. Is it, I try not to be disrespectful, but a little bit, is it a good opportunity to get a lot of guys playing time, hopefully?
Yeah, we don't necessarily see it that way. I think right now, really for the way I would say it to the team is that, this is our first time as a group executing our process from Sunday to Saturday. And a new group of players and obviously some new staff members. So I think we're living in the moment here one day at a time. I think today's a Monday for us, so we're consumed with being as efficient as possible. The more detail, the better. And I would expect us to get better every week regardless of who we play. So I think independent of who we play or where we play, I think we have agreed that it's all about what we do, and we got to control the things that we can control.
How does it differ when you're not going to play a top whatever team, 15, let's say, on the road, and then we're playing the #1 draft pick in the NFL in the opener versus a team where you guys are, I don't even think there's a line on it, probably because of DJ, but you're going to be heavily favored.
Yeah, I think obviously just human nature in general, there's some differences, but I think for us, we're gonna be focused on what we do throughout the week.
When you look back at August, how much of what you intended to get done did you get done, would you say?
Yeah, I feel good about it. Obviously I think we did a good job developing depth where we needed it. I'm proud of some of the players that kind of surfaced as we were looking for competition. to build depth. Now, that is ongoing. I would say, some of these positions that we talked about, I think that the development of the young players, because a lot of these guys haven't played significant roles. Maybe they played at the end of the game at certain points throughout last year, but I think those are the players that I think we need to see continue to improve. And that's going to be important for our team. We know in this league the depth will be really, really important. So, you're always coaching your team. You have different capacity in every room, but you got to continue to coach all parts of the team throughout the year. But I do feel good about the progress a lot of those players that we talked about in the very beginning.
Is there an area of the team that you thought stood out better than what you may have expected?
Yeah, I think the edge room, the inside backer room, those are two rooms where I feel good about, what we have. I think, and then you dig into, I do think that there's great competition for the fourth corner spot. I think there's great competition, kind of who's the fifth inside backer, right? Who are the fifth, sixth safeties? We're still having the same conversations. I do think Amir Jackson's had a good camp. I think that Jason Zandamella's had a good camp. So those are the players that I'm talking about specifically.
When you say worrying about what you're doing and all that, what are some things that you will focus on?
Yeah,
like the operation,
Sure.
things like that. What aspects will you?
Yeah, I
really
just
wanna see?
think, we're doing things that we haven't done before, right? So this group has been through every phase. This is a new phase, right? So in-season routine, what does the scout team process look like? Not only in-house with the staff in terms of, meetings, periods, as simple as how we draw cards, to replicate plays of the opponent. But I think those are areas where you're always ironing the wrinkles out, especially in the very beginning. We've done quite a bit of work to try to prep for that, but, today will be our first time doing it, when it really counts. You don't get the rep back. That, oftentimes we'll tell the staff, we're screwing the players, right, because we weren't as prepared as we could be in that rep. We didn't recreate the game for the players, right? So I think those jobs are really, really important for the team. And it's important that the players take great pride in those roles, but it's also important for the staff to be well prepared.
Really, on that note of recreating the reps, is there anything you guys did in training camp to try to get the players more prepared for the first week of the season, just in how you structure things or make it more game week-like?
Yeah, we did. I think we built the work load to create some rhythm for an in-season week in terms of the player load throughout each week of training camp. I think that we did a lot of opponent teach work so we could get ready for some of these processes that will happen early. In general, we typically do that for the first four opponents, so we've done quite a bit of that.
You mentioned Ron Hoover. Did you ever cross paths with him over the last 20 years? And how much can you maybe even ask Vinny Sinceri, who worked with his dad for a long time, and Steve Spurrier maybe about, just to get a better sense of what he likes to do?
Yeah, no, I think Coach Cooper's well respected in the profession. He's had a heck of a journey. For him to get an opportunity to be a head coach, I think he's done a great job. I think you see their team getting better. Last year they had some really big wins down the stretch, and then I think get a good young quarterback that can cause some problems for you. So in general, he's got a great grasp of the game.
How would you evaluate the camp from a, physicality, line of scrimmage standpoint? Obviously, a lot of momentum at the end of the last season in that regard. Where do you feel like you guys are?
Yeah, no, it's there's one way to do it. There's one speed, and we've done it that way.
Really working with DJ for another offseason, another fall camp. What stands out about the way he prepares and also the way he's been become a better leader?
Yeah, I think you see he's in a different place from a leadership standpoint because of what he experienced last year. I just think it's been his team since January. So I think his ability to influence others, to say encouraging things, to be a good example. And then obviously he knows what the games are like. He knows what an in-season prep is like. So I think that, those things eliminate some of that anxiety or the unknown, right? So I think last year at this point in time, he had no clue what he was walking into. Now he's working his tail off, but, until you've run out there, you don't quite understand.
Do you want to see the mental reps and the film study in that regard kind of show up in these early games? What he's
Yeah,
done?
it's important. I mean, I think Coach O'Hara does a great job. I mean, I think our quarterback routine started yesterday, and it's by the minute, by the rep. These guys they're always well prepared, and certainly DJ he's a football junkie. So I mean, he's consumed with improvement, and he's already started his process of getting ready to play this week. And it's really you're playing the game every day if you're doing it the right way. So I think he along with the other players on the team. If we're doing this right, there's a process for Sunday, Monday, and we're in the middle of that process.
You were saying there's only one way to do it, be physical, right? So with DJ, is that how you got to call the game, like he's 100% good to go? Or do you call it like, I got to protect this guy a little bit while he gets caught up?
Yeah, I think probably wouldn't say those things publicly, but I mean, you're obviously you're thinking the right way. I mean, I think there's some gamesmanship to that part. I mean, there's no question about it. But in general, I don't know that we're going to disclose our approach with a game plan. But I mean, I do think it is what it is at this point.
Bill, you started recruiting him, DJ, before he kind of blew up. How important was kind of the off-field army of analysts and everything and getting on him early and ultimately landing him?
Yeah, I think the personnel staff did a great job of identifying him. And we had a prior relationship with his quarterback coach, Coach Tillman, back in Houston. We had coached a player who had trained with him prior, and that's where the relationship came from. And Joe Hamilton, being from Texas, I think that helped us as well. But he was in our footprint at Louisiana, right? So our process there led to him being an early. We identified him early because he was doing some impressive things. And then we get here and we kind of start that process. So, yeah, I think the relationship piece is ultimately what held it together and the caliber of people they are. So, yeah, in general, I think the staff did a great job.
Do you remember roughly when that was, when he first popped onto your radar?
I remember the first visit. He came during spring practice of that first year. I can remember we were in the stadium at that point, and we were meeting upstairs on the whatever floor that is, in the offensive staff room, and he's in there with his dad, his quarterback coach. I mean, we met in my office over there. So, I mean, that's my first. I do remember pulling the tape up and evaluating him the day before, the day of there, just saying, okay, hey, they're telling me this guy's a good player. Let me take a look. So, yeah, I mean, it was year one when we first got here.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Not to go too much into game plan stuff, but the positions you mentioned, the fourth cornerback, fifth inside backer, how much do you anticipate potentially this being another opportunity to evaluate where those spots stand against Long Island?
Yeah, we'll see how they practice this week. I mean, I think we have, there's a large group of players on our team that need to have a great week, and that's going to decide how much they play. So, practice performance is game day reality. And if you're unproven, the only way you really prove yourself is to do it in a practice setting, right? So how intentional are you in the meetings? What's your demeanor in the meeting, at the walkthrough, when you're not taking a rep? What is your approach? How engaged are you, and how important is it to you? So you need to prove to the staff that you're ready, but there's accountability to the other players, the veteran players. Because, we don't just throw you out there. I mean, we get to put 11 out there, about 180 plays every week. So you got to do the work beforehand to get a chance to go out there.
Things stand with the backup quarterbacks.
Yeah, we'll see, I think, we'll see. So I think, big week coming up, and, we're not ready to make any declarations there publicly.
Is there still more you want to see from them? Is that
Yeah.
competition
Yeah, more
ongoing?
to see.
Does it feel different for you this week? Do you still get giddy and fired up
Yeah, I
for
do.
game week? And
Yeah.
I mean, you hide your emotions pretty well. But
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I think to me, it's the challenge of getting the most out of a group, And I just, I appreciate this group in particular. I think they've done it the right way. So, but look, we have to go do it on the field, right? So, this group has obviously got a ton of potential, but we got to go produce, right? So, the film that we watch next Sunday will be our resume, will be each individual player's resume, right? So, we need to prepare for that. We need to take great pride in how we play. Can we go play clean? Can we play with poise? Can we execute? Can we play with detail? Are we going to establish what type of effort we play with this team? So that's what I'm excited about, is to see how well this group can do it in the first opportunity.
You made it sound like there's a little pep in DJ's step the last several days because of his availability. What's his process been like for him in terms of patience,
Yeah.
having to rein this guy in, because he's wanting to get out there and kind of test things?
Yeah, I don't think it's uncommon in this game for players to have to do that. Yeah.
It's been going on all year.
Yeah, I mean, there's players every year at every level of football that go through things like this, He just happens to be a quarterback, and then obviously had a heck of a freshman year, and there's a ton of attention that comes with that. So, look, I think that it's healthy in some regards to be uncomfortable, to go through adversity. If you can frame it the right way and have the right mindset towards it, I think it causes you to be creative in terms of how you create experience for yourself. And then, look, patience is something that needs to be developed at times, right? So his attitude towards each process is important, right? Can he be process-oriented? Look, a lot of times things happen to you that you can't control, so there's opportunities to get better as a result of what he's going through. So I think he's learned a lot about himself, and then this won't be the first time that he goes through something like this. You play this game, you're going to get injured, right? So how you manage that, not only physically but mentally, right? I think the battle begins in the mind, So I think for him that's been a little bit of a challenge, but I think it's been healthy for him.
What's the most impressive aspect, I guess, of it that you've seen in him? I mean, he just turned 20 years old, so he's very young and he's so high profile, and we've been talking about this and writing about it, and everyone has for months.
Yeah, just to see, we've had a lot of conversations. I mean, obviously you get frustrated, but I think, just kind of recentering around, all right, hey, look, next, what's next? And I think that we've had to do that quite a bit, So for me, the kid's very level-headed. I mean, I think he's got poise, he's got humility. So I think the big thing he's learning is, look, I've got to focus on what I can do and not what I can't do, right? So it's the same thing for the team and the organization as a whole, right? We can't control the external, but we can control the internal, right? So just it's a consistency there that I think allows you to continue to get better. I think that's important.
Billy, you mentioned being on a mission to play championship defense. You talked about DJ's growth from a leadership standpoint. Who have you seen on the defensive side of the ball in camp that maybe has made a leadership jump that can help y'all play championship defense?
Yeah, I think the edge room has a lot of leadership. Gums, Sapp, Cameron James. I think inside backer room, I think you see some guys, J-Rob, Miles. I think Devin Moore. I've seen better overall, I would say, intangibles from the secondary. I think our secondary is on a mission. I always tell them, hey, it's time to bring DBU back, right? So, I think for them, we have players that we played as really young players, and we all remember those tough days. But I think they've been here for a number of years now, so I think there's experience there. You got 4 safeties that have played a lot of football. You got 2 corners that have played a lot of football. So I think that room has impressed me. I think there's a lot more maturity there, and I think that group has been a little bit up and down since we've been here. But I think at all 3 levels of the defense, we've got some presence there.
You play a game like this against a team like Long Island, trying to stay as respectful as possible. Like, how do you, is it goal-oriented towards your long-term goal of playing championship defense, or is it just like we're stacking days towards this end that is Saturday, and then we start that over again?
Yeah, I think it's just more about the intent of the work, the quality of the work. I think we're trying to establish what Sunday to Saturday looks like for each individual, each position group, unit, the team as a whole. All these processes are new. Probably 30% of the team is new, and then 30% of the organization is new, right? So we're doing a lot of these things for the first time as a group, and I think it's really important to get off to a good start.
Since you've been here, we've talked to you about the potential for a 9-game SEC slate. I was just wondering what your reaction was to that finally going through, and maybe the increase in parity in a sense now that everyone has to play every school every 2 years.
Yeah, I think our game continues to evolve, right? There's a demand for revenue. Now that you have the burden of the rev share from a budgetary standpoint, you got to do some things to create more revenue. There's certainly an appetite for it with the fans. And look, the game continues to be more popular than ever. And we've got a great league. There's positives and negatives that come from this, but I do think in general, I have no control over it, right? So I think we'll show up and play whoever they put out there.
Some of the other players throughout camp that dealt with some nicks and bruises, Caleb Banks, Dallas Wilson, feeling confident similarly to DJ that they're trending toward going week 1, Pup Howard?
Yeah, no, we'll have an injury report week 3 when we play LSU. Until then, we're not going to make any comments.
How do you feel about the receiver room, given all the nicks and bruises in terms of what you have left and the talent that's there and so forth?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, we'll have a group ready for Saturday, and again, we're not going to comment on injuries. You guys know that, but
Just curious how you feel about what you have, though, in terms of, and the fact that you've built up there.
yeah, I'm going to be watching a lot of these guys this week in terms of how they practice starting today, right? So, I think there's a lot of positions on our team where, we're gonna base our decisions on what we see this week. I know everybody wants to play, but you got to show me that you're ready to play during the week, right? And that starts today.
Billy, compared to the previous 3 years, where's your confidence level now compared to the first 3 years you were here?
Yeah, I think that what I've learned is that my confidence level, I think it's important for me, big picture wise, to live day to day in that regard. I think that I've got to show up and fight for what I expect of the staff and the players every day, right? So I think your team is always close to being average or above average, right, at any point in time. And I think with the level of competition that we play, we have to fight for the intangibles that we need on Saturday and the execution that we need on Saturday every week, right? So I think, the season is here, and I think for me, it's about getting a singular focus on the matchup for that week, the players that are available, the personnel, the scheme, the leadership challenge, pushing the right buttons, getting the team ready to peak, building momentum towards Saturday, and then, having the mental toughness to do that again week after week. So, I think what I've learned over time is it's just like, hey, who do we play this week, and what do we need to be well prepared?
In the evolution of your own coaching, how would you say that, what has been the greatest point that maybe wasn't there when you started and you have evolved to this?
Yeah, I think just the belief level in general, at the player level, I think that's where I think every really good football program and organization kind of goes through that to where they get to a point where it's like, okay, it's working, now let's do our best to see if we can do it, be at our best each week and put our best foot forward. So I think last year that happened, and I think that's, it's contagious. So I think in general, 60% of the team, 65% of the team has been around for that. So got to go do it this year, though. None of that plays for us this year.